you know, you've got the person you want to root for that is going to survive against these odds, but we need those odds to be very, very strong, you know, and there is a lot of it about. There's a lot of strong arm politics going on, like we've stripped away years of democracy is going on. You know, I don't want to go down any obvious routes here that people that come to mind that's going on right now.
We
But
apologize.
well,
As a country, we apologize.
well, we've got our own. You know, it is a bit of a state of flux. Let's just say that at the moment. I hope, and it will come out. You know, it'll go through a period of change. Yeah. So he surprised me, and one of the things that also really, at first I didn't like, and then I said, no, but this is a wonderful story, is that he's not as talented as the others. They're just so gifted. They're given it from birth. You know, she can do anything. And she beats me up just because she gets angry with me. And I don't know if we can use all this, but she invokes this thing called witch wind. And knowing that we had, basically, that Deborah entrusted this series to people who had the wherewithal. That's what I've experienced a lot, especially in my earlier career, is people sitting down and having great ideas, but they just don't have the budget to do it.
Yeah.
Because time costs.
Yeah.
And you haven't got the time to do it, and you compromise, and it's like, what happened to that? You said it would be the incredible chase of life and death across continents, and it turns
And I
out
went down
to
a
be
flight of stairs.
and it turns out to be a conversation in a pub. You know? What happened? So yeah, I just feel more and more excited to be here today and sharing this moment.
Well, one of the things that's so interesting and chilling for me as a historian is you have to remember, I wrote these books a decade ago. And I feel like in some ways they're more timely than they were when they were written. But as a historian, what I know is that any period of expansion, and we had expanded in all sorts of ways. There, I wrote this in the shadow of the Prop 8 debate here in California about gay marriage, which was, overturned. And people said, well, where is this coming from? I thought, all the little historian bells went off, and I thought, we're about to enter into this drawing back phase. And so when I wrote this, what I find weird watching it now is I'm thinking, weirdly, this seems in chilling ways more relevant and more like on point politically than it might have seemed in 2011 when people first read it.
How interesting.
So because it is, go ahead. No, go.
Obviously as an author, one of the biggest thrills can be seeing your vision come to life on screen.
Yeah.
But we also know that there are things that we tend to be very particular about. Was there anything that you very firmly wanted to make sure stayed in the series, and something that maybe you gave them a little creative license for, and it really was kind of surprised you pleasantly at how it turned out?
Good questions. We had a lot of, to kind of follow up on what Owen was saying, we had a lot of conversations about what we could do well and what we might want to leave to the reader's imagination. So there is a favorite scene of mine that was about creature yoga, about what would happen if vampires, witches, and demons were doing a peace project that involved yoga together. And the scene was daft, and I loved writing it, and people loved the scene, and it's like, oh, I love the scene. And when we sat down to talk through what we were going to do, we all looked at each other and thought, okay, that could end badly, And so we all kind of took a pinky pact, and it was a courageous one to say, if we don't have the confidence to know we can do that well, let's just not do it. Let's leave that to the readers and the imagination. So on the one hand, I'm sorry to not see it, but on the other hand, I'm kind of relieved we made that decision, because then we could focus on doing other things, like making the library. I was really, really worried about the Bodleian. When they said to me, we're going to build the Bodleian in a studio, I just thought, okay, this has got disaster written on it.
Yeah.
Letters 35 feet tall. You can't rebuild the Bodleian. It was built in 1602. It's
Did
not
they
going
take
to
from
work.
other sets or anything? Or is it completely
They went in, they got permission to go in with like electronic measurers. They measured every inch of Duke Humphreys and the Selden End. And they rebuilt it within, I believe, 3 inches. They were 3 inches short. And the keeper of rare book, the Bodleian's librarian came to the set and walked in and went, and that's what I did. I mean, it was like, so I was like, why are we not going on location? The real reason was we could film on Sundays between like 4 and 8, and only 25 people could be in the library at the same time. That included the camera and the camera people and the cast. So it was impossible. You think of this, your Witchwind scene. How could we have ever done that?
Yeah.
So they're like, we're going to just build it. I was like, I mean, you can imagine somebody who's worked in there, for most of her adult life, and I'm seeing this is going to be horrible. And I walked in, and I said, and there was a wooden cube, and I said, that is a column base from Selden End. And they said, yeah, it is. And I said, I can tell you which column base that is, because I sat next to it for an entire year doing I could tell from the grain of wood on the oak that they had simulated. So that was just like, it was incredible. I had that authenticity.
There's another thing which is amazing. The James North, the production designer, is a young guy. Well, he looks very young, but he's a young guy. When the sets were done with, he has the ability to see in a set. I think when he did this, they have to strike the Bodleian, and he could see that those columns would be useful because a lot of it is set in Venice as well. Yeah. That he would be able to have the artistic vision to look at something and lift it out of context, take it into another set, and build a whole courtyard at the congregation. Yeah. Incredible.
So the Bodleian columns got marbleized and then put in the courtyard of the congregation set.
Wow.
So he was a genius, and so that's the kind of thing. I can't hammer a nail, so there's no way for me to imagine that. But it was just breathtaking, and and when I walked on the set of the Bishop House, I said we should keep this on the soundstage and use it as an Airbnb.
Oh, and there's another one, right? I'm not sure you were there. Very early on in the story, there's a real super witch as well, who's maverick. She's rogue.
Satu.
Yeah, and the discovery of where is very early on in the show, of revealing where she lives, and there's a lake in Wales, not that far from Cardiff, with pine trees, and you suddenly feel we're not in the UK now. We've gone much further north. We're Denmark, going up. It could be. It's like those pictures you see near the Arctic Circle. Gets kind of a bit more barren with just these really strong trees, and they built a boathouse over the water, and that's where she lives. This old rickety old thing.
And it just looks
It
like
is so
Finland.
fantastic. I couldn't.
Yeah.
I said, "What are you going to do?" They said, "We've got to take it down. We have to leave." I said, "You can't take this down.
You wanna
It's
live here."
idyllic. It's incredible. I want to come here on holidays."
I want to sneak in a quick question
So
before
sorry,
you guys leave. Just what was your favorite film or scene as an actor to film?
It has to be Witchwind.
Yeah, Twins.
I've thought about I've been asked this. Yes, I don't want to spoil anything, but it has to be Witchwind.
Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your
Thank you.